U.S. President Donald Trump warned that Iran would pay many times over for every American soldier killed, as Washington launched a fresh round of airstrikes against Tehran. Meanwhile, Yemen's Iran-backed Houthis said they will impose a naval blockade on Saudi Arabia, opening a potential new front in the conflict, and raising the threat to global energy supplies beyond the Gulf. The UNESCO World Heritage Committee meeting, considered the world's most prestigious gathering on cultural and natural heritage, is currently underway in Busan. Delegates unanimously adopted a declaration that sets the direction for global cooperation in protecting World Heritage sites. The massive fire at a Coupang logistics warehouse in Incheon has been largely contained, more than 60 hours after it first broke out on Friday. Firefighters struggled to put out the blaze due to the building's complex layout and large amounts of flammable materials, but rainfall on Monday helped bring the fire under initial control. Hello and thanks for joining us on Arirang News. We begin today with escalating tensions in the Middle East. U.S. President Donald Trump has issued another stark warning to Iran as Washington intensifies its military campaign. Tehran, meanwhile, says it's now in a full-scale war with the United States. Our Kim Bo-kyung starts us off.
U.S. President Donald Trump issued a strong warning to Iran, saying it would pay many times over every time Iran kills an American soldier. The remarks came in a post on Truth Social on Monday, where he said the directive has been passed to the Pentagon and top military commanders. This comes after several U.S. service members were killed in action. 2 stationed in Jordan were killed in an Iranian missile and drone attack on July 17th, and another soldier was killed in Iraq the following day while attempting to destroy an unexploded Iranian drone. The warning comes as the U.S. military launched a new round of airstrikes against Iran on the same day, marking the 10th consecutive night of U.S. airstrikes targeting Iran. U.S. Central Command, which oversees military operations in the Middle East, said on its X account that the new strikes began at 4 p.m. Eastern Time under the direct orders of Trump. The command said the operation was intended to further degrade Iran's military capabilities used to attack commercial vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has described the country's recent military confrontation with the U.S. as a full-scale war, according to Iranian state media on Monday. Such remarks came from a meeting of the Supreme Judicial Council in Tehran, where the president said that Iran is fighting a war that is not fought solely with missiles. He added that Iran's enemies have concluded that military strikes alone cannot force the Iranian people to surrender, and that Tehran will continue to fight to defend its national interests until the very end. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
And the conflict in Yemen is threatening to spill beyond its borders as Iran-backed Houthi rebels announced an immediate naval blockade against Saudi Arabia, ending years of relative calm. The move raises fresh concerns over regional security and the safety of vital global shipping routes that carry oil, food, and other goods between Asia, Europe, and the rest of the world. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels have announced an immediate naval blockade against Saudi Arabia, marking a major escalation in tensions after the collapse of a 4-year truce. In a televised statement Monday, the Houthis declared what they called a maritime embargo against Saudi Arabia, saying the move was retaliation for what they described as the kingdom's nearly 12-year blockade of Yemen's ports and airports, as well as the exploitation of the country's resources.
The Yemeni armed forces announced a maritime embargo against the criminal Saudi enemy based on the equation of a blockade for a blockade, and it will enter into force effective immediately upon the issuance of this statement.
The announcement follows a sharp rise in hostilities last week. The Houthis fired missiles at Saudi Arabia after accusing the kingdom of carrying out an airstrike on an airport under their control. Saudi Arabia has not publicly accepted responsibility. The missile attacks were the first claimed by the Houthis against Saudi Arabia since an informal ceasefire took effect in March 2022. The truce had largely held despite Yemen's long-running civil war between the Iran-backed Houthis and the Saudi-backed internationally recognized government. Analysts warn the renewed conflict could have consequences well beyond the region. They say any disruption to shipping routes could affect not only oil and natural gas, but also container cargo, food, fertilizer, coal, and other goods moving between Asia, Europe, and the rest of the world.
Everything can be affected because not only oil or natural gas is shipped through this strait. Other cargoes from Asia, such as containers, food as well, fertilizers, coal, and everything else that can be loaded onto the ship and shipped or sailed to the Europe or other part of the world that needs to pass this strait, it might be affected.
The Houthis have been fighting Yemen's internationally recognized government for more than a decade, and the latest developments raise fresh concerns that the conflict could once again threaten regional security and global trade. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Bilateral trade between North Korea and China surpassed $1.5 billion in the first half of this year, marking the highest volume since 2017, prior to the full enforcement of UN Security Council sanctions. Now, this is according to a Voice of America report analyzing data from China's General Administration of Customs, and represents a 19.6% increase from the same period last year. Trade between the two countries had fallen to $1.1 billion in 2018 from the sanctions. It later plummeted further to just under $66 million in the first half of 2021 due to pandemic-related border closures, but has since shown a consistent recovery. North Korea imported roughly $1.18 billion in goods from China, up around 12% compared to the first half of last year. Meanwhile, its exports to China surged 54.1% to $324 million. Here in South Korea, the world's leading decision-making body on cultural and natural heritage began formal deliberations in Busan this week, where delegates unanimously adopted the Busan Declaration, aimed at strengthening global cooperation in protecting World Heritage sites. Our culture correspondent Hwang In-beom was there.
The UNESCO World Heritage Committee adopted the Busan Declaration on Monday, a South Korea-led initiative calling for stronger international cooperation to protect World Heritage sites. The declaration proposes adding collaboration as the sixth strategic objective of the World Heritage Convention.
In the face of today's global crisis, solidarity within the international community remains the only solution. I hope this committee will serve as a turning point in reinvigorating cooperation under the World Heritage Convention.
The Busan Declaration is the committee's first formal declaration setting out the strategic direction for World Heritage protection since this 44th session, which was held in China in 2021. It also emphasizes inclusive interpretation of heritage values and shared responsibility for World Heritage management while addressing challenges including armed conflict, climate change, development pressures, and rapid technological change.
Yet, acknowledging that troubling reality that we are faced here, World Heritage properties and other sites of cultural significance continue to suffer from consequences of armed conflict around the world and also of climate change.
Korean culture is also being showcased beyond the conference hall through the K Heritage House from Monday to July 29th, where visitors can explore dozens of exhibitions, performances, and interactive experiences highlighting Korea's cultural and natural heritage. The first plenary sessions saw delegates adopting the committee's agenda and timetable before beginning discussions on reports from the World Heritage Center and its advisory bodies. The afternoon session focused on ways to strengthen heritage protection in Africa and small island developing states. The committee will spend the coming days reviewing the conservation status of existing World Heritage sites before turning to new inscriptions and modifications, including South Korea's proposal to expand the Kepol, Korean tidal flats World Heritage Site. Hwang In-beom, Arirang News, Busan.
The massive fire at a Coupang logistics warehouse in Incheon has been brought under initial control more than 61 hours after it first broke out. Fire authorities declared the blaze under control at 8 p.m. on Monday after deploying more than 800 firefighters and over 230 pieces of equipment under a nationwide emergency response. The warehouse complex structure and large amounts of flammable materials hamper firefighting efforts, but rain on Monday helped crews gain the upper hand. No casualties have been reported. More than 120 workers have been evacuated safely, while over 200 nearby residents have taken shelter at local schools over concerns the building could collapse. South Korean midfielder Hwang In-beom has joined Portuguese Primeira Liga team FC Porto. According to FC Porto, Hwang has signed a contract through June 2029 with an option to extend it for an additional year. The transfer fee paid to his previous club, Feyenoord, is reported at 4.5 million euros, with an additional 500,000 euros in performance-related bonuses. He will wear the number 16 jersey in the new season. Hwang joins Porto after making 24 appearances for Dutch side Feyenoord last season, recording 1 goal and 4 assists, and recently representing South Korea at this year's FIFA World Cup. Until now, treating depression has largely relied on medication or stimulating nerve cells in the brain. But South Korean researchers have developed a new technology that could help treat depression through a contact lens. Our Kim So-young explains more.
It looks like an ordinary contact lens, but a closer look shows a tiny antenna and micro-sized electrodes inside. Both are made with highly flexible materials, so they do not block or interfere with vision. This is a depression treatment lens developed by Korean researchers. Two high-frequency currents from the lens meet inside the eye and turn into a low-frequency current at the retina. This low-frequency current then sends an electrical signal through the optic nerve network, stimulating the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex, key brain areas targeted in depression treatment.
These electrical signals are safe for the eyes. They stimulate only the retina, and we believe they do not cause any pain.
Researchers had mouse with depression wear the lens for 30 minutes a day for 3 weeks and found that their depressive symptoms disappeared and their activity levels recovered. Synapses in the brain's neural network, which had weakened due to depression, became stronger again. Levels of brain nerve growth factor increased, while inflammation levels went down. The effect was similar to that of depression medication.
Machine learning showed that the treated mice were no longer close to the depression group. Instead, their patterns were much closer to those of normal mice.
Researchers say the results are promising, and they plan to begin clinical research within 3 years. Kim So-young, Arirang News.
Korea's traditional rice wine, or makgeolli, is embracing modern technology. One local manufacturer is now using advanced fermentation technology to improve consistency while maintaining the drink's signature flavor. Our Cha Yeon-kyung reports.
Rice has been steamed for about an hour and a half in a huge steam cooker, creating hard-steamed rice, known locally as godubap, which is the base of makgeolli, the traditional Korean unrefined rice wine. When you mix this hard-steamed rice with a fermentation starter and put it into a fermentation tank, it becomes makgeolli after the ripening process. While makgeolli fermentation is traditionally done by hand, this place features a rare, state-of-the-art smart fermentation facility.
This is a device that maintains a consistent temperature by rotating at set intervals according to the settings. When making alcohol, controlling the temperature is the most critical factor.
The rice, the main ingredient of this makgeolli, is 100% domestically grown, consuming about 100 tons of Korean rice every year. Thanks to the smart fermentation process, the wine is highly rated for its consistent flavor rather than being irregular, and it is mainly sold in the Gwangyang and Suncheon regions. Recently, adding extracts from local specialties such as plums, black garlic, and citrons to the makgeolli has drawn a great response.
The taste is very smooth, and that crisp carbonation makes it really pleasant to drink.
This makgeolli company,
famous for its symbolic red caps, employs 20 people. Among them, many multicultural family members and individuals with disabilities are employed, fulfilling its role as a social enterprise. 차윤경, Arirang News.
This is the world now. In the U.S., President Trump has placed 50% tariffs on a wide range of Canadian products, citing Canada's quote, unequal treatment of American cars, alcohol, and dairy. Trump used Section 338 of the 1930 Tariff Act, which allows tariffs of up to 50% on imports from specific countries. The new tariffs cover items including wine, hockey sticks, cement, dairy products, swimming pools, furniture, fishing rods, and wigs, and takes effect on August 19th. The White House pointed to Canada's dairy system and provincial bans on U.S. alcohol sales as justification for the tariffs. In New York, authorities have arrested a man after he started a fire and ignited fireworks outside an Immigration and Customs Enforcement office. Officials said the suspect was a U.S. Army veteran who served from 2001 to 2005. He was allegedly carrying anti-ICE literature and poured gasoline on the stairs of 26 Federal Plaza in Lower Manhattan on Monday morning, set it on fire, and ignited fireworks. The building also contains an FBI field office. A Federal Protective Service officer who detained the suspect sustained minor injuries, and 2 other people were also lightly hurt. FBI officials described the suspect as an anti-American, anti-government extremist. In the U.S., the Food and Drug Administration says an initial positive test on lettuce linked to a nationwide cyclosporiasis outbreak turned out to be a false positive, but the agency says its conclusion about the source of the outbreak hasn't changed. The FDA had tested Taylor Farms lettuce at the U.S.-Mexico border and found it tested positive for the Cyclospora parasite. But quality control checks later showed that result was a false positive. Even so, the agency says its traceback investigation and outbreak data still point to shredded iceberg lettuce from Taylor Farms locations in central Mexico, which was also served at some Taco Bell locations. More than 1,600 people across over 30 states have been sick due to the outbreak. Taylor Farms is continuing a voluntary recall. Officials say Cyclospora is unusually hard to trace because of its long incubation period and because the parasite can't be cultured or genetically sequenced in labs. English football legend Kevin Keegan has died at the age of 75. His family revealed in June that he had stage 4 cancer. Keegan was the only British footballer to win the Ballon d'Or twice. He starred for Liverpool, where he won 3 league titles and the European Cup before moving to Hamburg for a British transfer record fee. Keegan also captained England 31 times and later managed Newcastle United and the England national team. Chu Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
Central Korea continues to deal with heavy monsoon rain while the heat gets stronger in southern regions. Another round of heavy rain is sweeping across Central Korea this afternoon, and up to 100 millimeters of downpours are expected for the capital area in Gangwon-do province, while Chungcheong-do and Gyeongsang-buk-do province could receive up to 60 millimeters. Gyeongsang-namdo province will remain hot and humid, with heat wave alerts remaining in place. Meanwhile, Jeju City and Seogwipo have now experienced 14 consecutive tropical nights, while heat alerts have been expanded to more southern parts of Korea. And this afternoon, Daegu and Jeju will be topping out at 34 degrees. Gyeongju hotter at 35 degrees, but Seoul will be getting up to 28 degrees Celsius this afternoon. The stationary front will continue moving north and south this week, so please stay alert for additional heavy rain and possible flooding.
Now that's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.